Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I am a Western astrologer and twin flame channel. And this is a video about the Virgo full moon that occurred on February 27th, 2021 at 3:17 a.m. If you happen to be living on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. A couple of announcements before we begin. I just want to say thank you so much to all of the new subscribers and all of the old subscribers for being members on this channel for so long. And to the new subscribers, finding something of interest enough to be willing to hit that subscribe button. I never thought when I started this channel that I would see the day when the number 15,000 would be my subscriber number, but here we are. And I'm just, praying every time that I do a video, that I share a channeled message, that the person for whom it is right for, it finds its way to you. And that those of you who need validation for your experience and your intuition are finding it here. And where things don't apply to you, you're able to release them and let them go with ease, as those may be messages for somebody else. Thank you once again for everyone who's ever shared one of my videos with a friend or on Instagram or in a Facebook group. Thank you to everyone who's ever, just decided like, okay, I'm going to hit that subscribe button because I don't want to miss another update. So you guys send me private messages and share, like, hey, this video has helped me or your content is helping me so much. And sometimes I'm in my own little cave, like a crazy cave woman, and it's amazing to see that the guidance and insight that's been given to me can be of such use to all of the rest of you. To celebrate this milestone, I have decided to re-release Star School 101. And you can find that over on the K Moon Astro website. You can just click Star School down here at the bottom. Star School 101 Astro Basics will have a very special price. 111.11 through March 19th. It's normally 144.44. So you'll be saving over 20%. And this particular version of Star School comes with 4 pre-recorded classes for listening and learning at your own pace. You'll be learning about the houses, signs, and planets, how to read your own chart and know who you are, aspects and axes of the zodiac wheel, and how to interpret transits so that you can see what's coming in your chart or in the chart of a loved one. There will also be 4 90 to 120-minute office hours recordings. So there is no live interaction for this special launch of Star School 101. However, those office hours recordings provide the information to frequently ask questions about the class content and illuminate how you can better understand the content for yourself and your loved ones. And it also comes with one full color 26-page PDF workbook that you can download, print, and use to deepen your understanding of how to make the stars or understand how the stars apply to you and your life or the life of someone you love. So this is only available through March 19th. After March 19th, Star School 101 goes back in the vault. 201 is not available at this time. It's 111.11 just for this special opportunity, and it's yours if you decide to enroll before March 19th. So one of the things that I love about the course the most that my students have said to me, because the course isn't designed to help you learn how to become a better reader. The course is actually designed like general reader for other people. It's designed to help you understand yourself and a loved one. What's interesting to me is that when my clients went ahead and started utilizing the workbook material to input their counterparts' information, so many of them described having aha moments about understanding their counterpart, feeling more compassion for them, understanding the ways that they are different, and had more peace with their twin experience because they could start to really recognize who their counterpart was in the eyes of the divine instead of looking at their counterpart through their own eyes. They could see how their counterpart was built, and they could also see who they were built to be and really honor, cherish, love, and respect that person as well. So, if this is something that you know could be useful to you as you embark on the beginning of 2021 in your experience with your divine counterpart, whether you're in union or in separation, check out Star School 101. I think you'll enjoy it. A lot of the students have emailed me many times to say, wow, breakthrough, aha, I finally get it. And it is on sale for a very special price because it's all recorded information only through March 19th. Let's get into what the Virgo full moon was all about. This full moon that occurred on February 27th occurred out here at the 8th degree of Virgo. And what's interesting about this full moon, and this is, it's rare that I see this kind of formation, is that it has a particular configuration that astrologers call a yod. And that yod includes Saturn here and Chiron here. Chiron and Saturn are in sextile to one another, but they are both inconjunct to the moon. The inconjunct energy, which I explain in detail in Star School 101, and the sextile energy as well, the inconjunct energy is an energy that has two planetary energies not talking to one another. It's an energy of almost either or. One can get expressed, but if that one's expressing, the other one is repressed. If the other one is, if the one that's repressed starts becoming expressed, the other one is repressed. But because this is happening in two places, Chiron in conjunct moon, healing and emotional needs are not communicating very well at this time. And then Saturn, boundaries, structure, and emotional needs are not communicating very well at this time because Saturn and Chiron are having a conversation together. This is an opportunity, this Virgo full moon and the energy before and after it for the next several days is an opportunity to recognize where we have not been getting some of our emotional needs met, where we've been trying to get them met and expressed outwardly. And it's an opportunity to start to see, oh, okay, I see how it's my responsibility to do due diligence and duty. That's the Virgo energy around my own emotional needs. It's up to me to take care of them, to make sure that they are not getting projected onto others. That's the Aquarian energy. And I'm not letting them fester. That's the Chiron energy in Aries. Aquarius is in the sign of the greater good. So there are some ways that this can manifest, this yod energy, because, you know, the yods can bring a lot of tension until we really recognize what they are pointing to. And in this particular circumstance, they're really pointing to the opportunity to take emotional responsibility in our lives for the things that need our attention. Because the moon can represent emotions, Virgo can represent health. This is really about taking responsibility for our emotional health and well-being and not projecting that onto other people, a counterpart, a family member, our children, our parents, our roommates, not trying to get other people to manage our emotions for us, but instead recognizing, okay, I've got an emotional need here. How do I manage it for me? Okay. What's interesting about this is that in the shadow, so you guys know I like to talk about light and shadow energies. There are some other configurations and players in the mix here. So at this time, Saturn isn't alone. Saturn's having a conversation here with Chariklo and Mercury on either side. And Chiron is not alone. Chiron's having a conversation here with Ceres. These conversations are called conjunctions. Conjunctions are when the planets are sitting together at, within 5 degrees of one another. Furthermore, the Saturn conjunction is squaring our friend Lilith down here. And this brings, it brings some shadow energy, not gonna lie. It definitely brings a bit of shadow energy, and Chiron is opposing the shaman's asteroid up here, and this too can bring some shadow energy. So let's break down these two shadow energies so that we can really understand what they're talking about, because they're further illuminated by the Sun Venus Nessus conjunction. Whenever the sun is in a particular sign, it's lighting up what's going on in that sign and whomever is near it. And the sun, in particular, when it's talking to Nessus and Venus in Pisces, this is talking about emotional obsession and the shadow. It's talking about obsessively reviewing emotional material, emotional clinginess, and an emotional inability to let go of things that have probably run their course, because Pisces, being that 12th sign, is about release and letting go and letting things move back into the ether now that they have completed their cycle through all the other 11 signs. This is further highlighted by the Saturn-Mercury conjunction. Saturn and Mercury together can lend itself to, a concentration and focus of mental energy where you're a bit fixated mentally until you figure something out. But it can also sometimes lend itself to being kind of the energy of like just not really getting it, like lights on, but nobody's home. Things are clicking into place, but it's moving really, really, really slow. It's not quite, you're just not quite fully grasping all of what's going on. With Characlo in the mix, I spoke about Characlo extensively last year, but her role is really the role of divine intercession. And so this could be a period of time where you may find yourself wanting to lean into begging the gods, beseeching the gods, getting the gods, whomever you pray to, Allah, Jesus, Buddha, it doesn't matter. Just whatever unseen energy you find yourself likened to and wanting to have watch out for your life. This could be a period of time where you're asking that unseen entity to intervene in your world in a way that may actually co-sponsor and foster more codependence instead of less. And so this is an opportunity for you to just take a beat, take a pause, and look for yourself. Okay, if there's something that I want that's not here, where can I take more responsibility rather than casting responsibility or blame on someone else or a spiritual entity, something else? Where can I start to look at how is this pattern, this behavior, these choices, how are they impacting my own emotional health and well-being? That's what's getting highlighted at this full moon, a real recognition. Okay, there's some things here that really just aren't serving. How can I step into moving into greater alignment? The Chiron energy piece here with Ceres, Ceres is one of the mothers of the zodiac, both Characlo and Ceres, the moon as well. Some of this is really highlighting, as we bring Ceres into the conversation, wounds from the matrilineal line in our families. Because Chiron talks about wounds, it also talks about teaching and being able to heal those wounds and then teach others. The Ceres Chiron combination is really having a look at what can we learn about the things that we personally need to let go of in ourselves, because Aries is the sign of the self. This is a conversation about, okay, there are some things that have to be let go of And it's time, we're definitely getting the prompting as we oppose the shaman's asteroid here to sit with ourselves, to really take an opportunity to sit with what's coming to completion at this time. What are we wrapping up at this time? If there's wounding that's been passed down from the matrilineal line, rejection, abandonment, addiction, boundary crossing, avoidance, aloofness, any type of, emotional wounding that's come down from the matrilineal line. This particular full moon is giving us a shot at coming to closure with those stories that keep us from fully being ourselves because we're too invested into what is it that our parents handed to us, specifically on the mother side, too invested in holding on to being poor because mom didn't have any money, but I can't have any either. Because if I start to have more money than her, then she'll rely on me and I can't have that. So I'll just not make any money. Those kind of subconscious things in our beingness that we've allowed to permeate into the way we're living our lives. This is one of those full moons of the year where we're getting slowly the light bulbs clicking on to say, okay, it's time to do a new thing. We can't continue to live the way we've been living. We got to move in a new direction. So, unfortunately, some of the way this can play out is this being a period of time where you really hit an emotional wall in terms of the reaching and the grasping outside of yourself. You may really hit an emotional wall at this time where the wall is actually trying to show us a mirror in terms of what it's time to move on from, what it's time to let go of. It's the concept of trying to get water out of a stone, or trying to milk a dry horse or a dry cow. This is a moment where the well at this point, you've been going back to it, going back to it, going back to it. You're now starting to get, okay, that well is dry. I can't keep doing this. I got to do a new thing. So, in that regards, it's a really helpful full moon, but I want to just be honest here. It's not without its discomfort in the recognition of the things that are, yeah, pretty complete for you, pretty done, pretty over, pretty not going to move forward at this time in the way that it was previously established. So, for my star schoolers in the 101 course, those of you who took 101, pay attention to the house where the full moon sits, that Virgo full moon, and also pay attention to your Aries house because Chiron's transiting there and Saturn is transiting that Aquarius house. Notice which people are indicated by those houses and those pages of your workbook. You'll remember we talked about there are certain people per house that are indicated. Pay attention because that's where you're going to start to see some of these things coming to a head in relationship, but you'll also start to see some of these things, patterns. If it's not people, it's patterns. Pay attention to how those patterns are related between those houses to get your clarity about this for your personal life. Okay. We also, at this particular full moon, we talked about this Venus Sun Nessus conjunction. It can give a lot of clinginess. Then there's Jupiter conjunct Mercury as well. And this is also, interestingly, a bit of expansion in the arena of communication as they trine the North Node here in Gemini. What's going on here is this recognition that things are changing, likely a desire to kind of reach out, discuss the changes with people, maybe want to, talk through some of the changes. For some of you, this is really directly like doing website work, like changing things on your websites, doing a lot of internet work. Internet activity could be sending out resumes, applying for jobs. Could also be like figuring out how you want to volunteer, serve, connect with different people. Just an increase on the whole of communication seems to be happening here as we move through these changes. It's just important to really honor for yourself where the communication, because Jupiter is part of the mix, and we've got this clingy energy in Pisces, where the communication is veering into the world of gossip, judgment, purging in somebody else's space, instead of actually just consciously being aware of, okay, look, I'm grieving this, or I am struggling with this and I don't really know how to make sense of it, trying to really just get support. So, some of you may have, with this energy, I can see some of you experienced some people, because we now have Saturn in shadow, is preparing to go retrograde. Some of you may have really experienced some people testing and pressing your boundaries during this period of time. And others of you may have also gotten the reflection elsewhere that you have been transgressing someone else's boundaries. Boundaries is a really big key theme here as we deal with the material world, because that's where moon sits in the material sign of Virgo. But this is specifically about emotional boundaries in particular as well, not just emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, all of it. You may find that there's a conversation needing to happen about boundaries in your space at this time. So, where that's appropriate, have it, consciously let people know, like, hey, like, I can or cannot be there in this way, or I can or cannot fulfill. I know we had agreed on this, but I need to change that agreement because circumstances in my world have shifted. I'd love to talk to you about resetting the expectations here so that or you and I can move forward in a way that works for both of us. That kind of conversation is going to go a long way. And where you have received the mirror that you have transgressed on someone else's boundary, apologies can go a long way. They're not going to fix everything. Behaviors fix a lot of stuff when you've transgressed on other people's boundaries, but at least starting the conversation with an apology, like, hey, I recognize, that perhaps when you said, don't text me, you meant not to text you. I'm really sorry. I just really wanted to be connected, that kind of thing. Having those conversations can help. This particular period of time around extremism and cloudiness and obsessing, this is just made even more complex in our romantic and business partnerships because of the Neptune square to Juno, and Juno talking to the South Node. There's just a lot of energy here around karma clearing and a lot of our relationships and the rebalancing of partnerships in a way that no longer obliterates each person's, frankly, their boundaries spiritually and their values and emotional ideals here. So, if you're finding that you're just not on the same page with people in your world who, business partnerships, that's one place, but romantic partnerships, that's the other place. There's just like a not on the same pageness going on. Again, this is going to be a great time for having those conversations to reset, reframe expectations, provided you can find the words for them. We covered those two. Some interesting conversations as well as Saturn sextiles Chiron. I think I mentioned this. Yeah, we talked about that, where there's this, energy of recognition around where the world, that's the Aquarian energy, can feel like it's trespassing on your boundaries. And that's the Aries energy. But there's something here that also needs to be accounted for. Sometimes with Chiron wounded stuff, we can have wounds, and then how does the right word I'm looking for? Subsequent wounds and then subsequent needs that are based on those wounds. And Thais Gibson talks about this a lot over on her channel at the Personal Development School. So I highly recommend you check her out if you haven't yet. There are needs and then there are wound-based needs, and they are not the same thing. Let's just say, for example, you grew up getting kicked, right? Your parents kicked you from the time you could crawl all the way until the time you left their house. So now, when you're out in the world, every time you see someone get ready to kick a ball or kick a can down the street or just lift their leg up to dance, you may find yourself in this space where you immediately physiologically flinch. And you may then turn to the people closest to you in your world and say, hey, whenever we're together, I just need you to slide your feet along the surface. Please don't lift your knees 6 feet off the ground, because if you do, I might freak out and go into trauma state. I need anyone close in my space to just keep their feet really close to the ground, if that's okay. That is a wound-based need. That is not an actual need. But once you can do the work on healing the wound and doing some of the reprogramming around the way you're wired around it, that need will go away, and the capacity for you to be with a wider range of people is going to expand. So this is one of those periods of time with Chiron sextile Saturn, Saturn sextile Chiron, where you may have this kind of like trigger response to things going on in the world. And you may call it needs, when really what's going on is the trigger is trying to indicate a wound that needs to be healed, not a need somebody else needs to perform or fulfill for you to be okay. And that's what I'm talking about here overall with the full moon. Ooh, okay, took you a minute to get to the point, but I think we landed there, girl. We got there in the end. That's what's going on at this particular full moon, is this kind of recognition of the distinction between what's a true need and what's a wound-based need, so that you can heal the wound as opposed to trying to get the people in your life to behave differently. Okay, this is just further amplified. There's an energetic presence here that I don't talk about very often, and that's Pholus. Pholus is having some really large and loud conversations. Sextile the sun, square Chiron, trine Uranus, and trine the moon. Because Pholus is speaking so loudly in this configuration with 4 other entities here, we can't ignore Pholus's influence, right? And so the mythology around Pholus, a lot of it is, it's really mixed with some of the Chiron mythology as well, but it has a lot to do with catching a wound by being almost in the wrong place at the wrong time. Literally getting wounded because of other people's issues that they hadn't resolved, and you just ended up, getting your foot ran over. That's kind of the Pholus energy, the energy that Pholus brings to the zodiac. And so, interestingly, when we reflect back on that whole conversation that we just had around actual needs versus wound-based needs, and then the clinging to other people and then wanting them to fill in for our needs instead of healing the wounds, all of that. The Pholus piece is asking us to find inside of ourselves where several things were true. One, the wound occurred and it was nobody's fault. It wasn't your parents' fault that they got the parents they got, that, caused them to have the wounds that they had, which then caused them to parent you the way that they parented, right? That caused you your wounds, right? There's this sensation here of recognizing there's just a confluence of energies, wrong place, wrong time. You ended up getting hurt, and then a recognition that you can't, two things, continue to place yourself at the mercy of other people's wounds and woundedness. This is where the boundaries piece comes in. And likewise, you can't hold your life and its expansion hostage because of the wounds and traumas suffered from before. They have to get healed so that you can move forward in your world. Because without that, these wounds are threatening to hold your life hostage. They're threatening to keep you trapped in repetitive cycles of woundedness. And so this is what, this full moon is really highlighting, is where it's nobody's fault, where you need to create boundaries, and then where you need to just let go. Just because it's trying to get other people to fill in the gap for those wounds so you don't feel so wounded, trying to make it up some kind of way, that's not going to work. It's going to be imperative to forgive, find compassion, and release in order to be able to heal. And that's this energy here of the shaman's asteroid opposite Chiron in this configuration. In fact, you could really say that there is a bit of a yod here as well with Uranus, Sun, and the shaman's asteroid. They're providing that aha insight that allows you to recognize compassion, forgiveness, release. It's time to let go of some of the things that we have been holding on to that have actually just been holding us back. So there you have it, the full moon in Virgo. The reading calendar is open if you would like to book a reading to see how the next couple of full moons or new moons are going to play out for you personally. Go on over to the K-Moon website. There's readings available for both types, personal and relationship. And if you'd like to go ahead and book into Star School for this limited time opportunity to grab this sale, you can. Just know that it ends on March 19th. And once it's over, Star School won't be available for a while I provide some upgrades and re-release it in the future. Thank you again so much for all of your likes, subscribes, and shares. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take great care, and bye for now.